This is all a long conversation. It's all the seasons, but mostly winter. It's accomplishment and heartbreak, and the mundane, transient moments like chopping garlic in the moonlight of a kitchen window. It's cards and cars and clocks and booze and all the physical ephemera that we cling to. It's the twinkle in your eye, the tilt of your head, the wrinkles of history in your cheek. It's a catalog, moments as artifacts, an atlas so I won't forget. It's everything that I can save with my lens. Mostly, it's love.
I need 5 minutes of cloud cover. It will be perfect. Okay, so here's where it's going to get a little tricky. Keep your shoulders and your hips just where they are, and then just raise your chin up a lot. And look up. You're going to look at the sky. Yes. Oh yeah, like that. Maybe a little less. Right there. That's great. That's really good. Squeeze a little down. Go on. Alright, that's weird. I don't like it anymore.
Now with the theory, now I'm a figure. I was naughty, oh, bad to me, oh Lord, I'm married, they make in that little, oh, that was good, out on every Sunday morning. Help me the family friend. Then old country wagon. Oh, with you. Oh, Lord. Oh, with you.
It's not math, and the engineers among us will always have a difficult time twisting their brains around this one. It's not like working with spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are always the same no matter what. You get a scientific answer to your question and it's either right or wrong. Very binary. Art is something else entirely. Art is not comprised of ones and zeros, but always some staggering number of degrees in between. Art is never the same, not between viewers, and not even for the maker from day to day. So much of what you like or don't like about your art has to do with the state of mind you're in when you're viewing it. Don't like what you produced yesterday? Well, did you get laid this morning? Did you have a good breakfast burrito this morning? If either one or both of these things is true, then do you still suck? So much of it's hormonal. Do other people like what you're producing? Are they all idiots? Remember that you can love your art the same way you love people. Nobody's perfect, and that you still manage to love them despite their imperfections. As with people, so with your own production. It might not be perfect, but eventually you're going to have to release it to the wild. And just see what happens. Sometimes I think about all the things I can't remember because I don't even know that I want to remember them. How much of life has passed by without even really registering its importance? Events and scenes and experiences so mundane that we don't even notice them. I was thinking recently of the key that I used to get into a store where I worked for several years. What did that key look like? Did it flip to the left or the right? Did I even go in the front door, which rolled up, or was I using the back door in the alley? I did this for years and years, and now, when I think about it, I can't begin to fill in the details. Of course, at the time, why would I have cared? I certainly wouldn't have stopped long enough to burn the memory of this key into my cranky card catalog brain. Decades later, for whatever reason, my mental meandering turns lights upon it, and I find it maddening that I can't bring it back. And so it is with people, how we all change, how all of our loved ones are changing right there in front of us, but the changes are so gradual that we think nothing of them. My argument is that these changes are important, that portrait photography is the antidote, or at least an inoculation against forgetfulness. A great way to remember that which we don't even know is important, yet.
This is kind of my favorite part, and I've been commenting to myself about this recently, but I've never especially liked that tripod. It has really found some magical power in that now it just finds its spot. Just a little forward. Hair more. Right there. I heard this story once, I have no idea if it's true or not, about Charles Deardorff making his first camera equipment. It was during Prohibition, and so where he got his wood was by going in and pulling out all the bars that had recently been closed down in Chicago. And so the first few generations of cameras were made from this very well experienced, heavily stained Chicago bar wood. And as soon as I heard that, I knew that that was going to be the camera for me. Alright, I got it, don't move. My camera makes an excellent collaborator, and I know it every time that I take it out of the box. I like pulling it out, I like threading it on, I like setting it up, I like attaching the lenses. And I can't really shoot with anything else. I have to use this. It's in its own way, it's a very jealous piece of equipment. It does not like it when I'm out using something else, and I can feel that. It makes me feel like I'm two-timing when I'm away from the 8 to 10. So I have sort of an unnatural relationship with the camera, but it does keep me shooting. If I leave it in a room or leave it in the box for too long, and it's been a couple weeks, I can sort of feel that neglectful tingle once I get back to it. It just loves me. We shoot so well together. I like to spend a minute with my camera before I even have a subject set up, so that Ian and I can have a moment alone before we go forth and actually start shooting. Sometimes it's better if people don't see that. I like to just have a moment alone with my camera before we get going. How about that? Yeah, see here. You got a question? You want to ask me something? Sure. I feel naked without a big American flag.
Everyone's drinking now. Good.
Amen. Full table.
This goes back to the 70s.
Goes back to the 70s.
Yeah.
Jesus, the 70s? Avert your eyes, Kelly.
But you paid 50 cents. Get a new coat.
Wasn't it for the motor for? I don't know what you're talking about.
It was like the weirdest thing. Yeah, that's the straight 500 officially.
2-pack. That's right.
Photography is basically a luxury art, and I think it's important that we recognize it as such. We find ourselves living during this time and in this place of unparalleled liberty and luxury. Life is basically easy. And still, I know that we're in the fall of Rome. There is, all around us, injustice and inequity, and trauma and drama and strife. I know that the luxury which enables me time and resources to pursue art isn't sustainable and isn't available to everyone, and soon will be available to even fewer. Right now, our culture, fickle and troubled and unsustainable, crumbles around us. I understand why so many artists are compelled to lash out against this fall. We see much social critique and artistic shaking of fists and wagging of fingers, but to me it's all ruin porn. It's rubbernecking at the car wreck instead of getting out to help. I purposefully don't travel much anymore. I prefer my insulated Eden up in the Northwest, my beloved neighborhood, just rough enough, my voluntary community of cast-offs and self-made cast-offs. I could point my photography at terror and strife, but the potential result doesn't appeal to me. To do so would be to ignore the good, and the good is, to me, more important. It's where the real fight is happening.
Yeah, straight flush the queen.
Four, seven. Jack.
I want our friends in the future to know that this weird period of human history wasn't all pride and vanity. As long as we keep making cause for celebration, I intend to keep celebrating it, diabolically doing my best to harness all of my evil powers for preservation and representation. The world is not all wicked even among we who are privileged with the grace of our times. I look around at my immediate circle of friends and I don't see greed and evil.
Last shot of the day.
I see ambition and creativity and love and production and beauty. And that's where I find a point in my art. I'm doing my best to not only notice, but to preserve this beauty. I do not wish for what is great, for who is great right now to be forgotten.
Alright, on three. 1, 2. Thank you and good day.
The Monday Night Poker Table has shorthand for this. Scheming for good.
I was filled, naughty, oh, fashion meeting. Oh Lord, our memories, they linger still in that little, oh, that wooden church house
You're still filming.
out on a hill. You know every Sunday morning, hell